So there's been a lot of rumors about the ghost of Kiev. I don't know if it's Kiev. My girlfriend was saying it's Kiev, but I've heard it's Kiev. But the ghost of Kiev, it sounds like, is a fictional story. I heard that it was an individual on Twitter that was looking to sell merchandise. Obviously, the Ukrainian fighter pilots have been doing as best as they can. They're highly outnumbered and highly outclassed with their hardware, but the skills of the Ukrainian pilots, it seems, have been pretty impressive so far. The Snake Island Ukrainian troops, you may have heard about. There's 13 troops on Snake Island, just off of the coast of Ukraine. They were bombarded by a Russian ship. Uh, these guys here, they they basically were told to surrender by this. I'm going to mute that. They were told to surrender by the Russians. This Russian ship shows up, and uh, they tell the Russian ship to go f itself, and they were then. It's playing the audio here, and you can see the titles, but yeah. So the Russians warned, "You'll be hit if you don't surrender." And like, do you copy? And the Snake Island uh, Ukrainian soldiers were like, should I go tell him to F himself just in case? Russian warship, go F yourself. They were then bombarded by the Russians, and all 13 members on that island died. They're now being used as a morale story. They held their own. They didn't have any ability to fight the Russians, and they said, "Go f yourself," and they all died for it. But they're the heroes of Ukraine right now, and all the Ukrainians know the story of these guys. There's been a lot of fighting. I think everybody has been really impressed with how well the Ukrainian forces have been doing, but it's going Russia's way. Russia's having a lot more opposition than they initially thought, but it seems that by the end of next week, the Russians will have control of the country at this rate. There should be a map here somewhere that shows how far in the Russians are. Um, they're pushing pretty hard. The Battle of Kiev looks like it's going pretty hard. No, I guess this isn't up anymore. I guess the moderators don't want this image up. I think the entire internet is interested in protecting intel of the Ukrainian movements, and so they'll take down anything that they think will help the Russian intelligence if they get their hands on. But they also promote all Russian movements if they possibly can help it, which I sort of agree with. Um, as you may have heard in some of my previous videos, I am of the belief that we should all be praying for every Russian soldier and be praying for every Ukrainian soldier. And we should also be praying for the Chinese and the Chinese leaders for God to soften their hearts, and also be praying for Taiwan. It sounds like that is going to be the huge escalation of our time, the battle between China and Taiwan, which it seems to me that the Chinese are going to go for it. The Chinese were flying airplanes, fighters over Taiwan airspace, and they did that the day that Russia invaded Ukraine, and I think that was a terrible mistake. The reason why I think that is a mistake is it drew attention to them, and it drew attention to their intentions. If I was China, I would have been very quiet on the first week of the Russia invasion, but they were interested to see how much attention that um, that sortie would get them, and it seemed to get them a good amount of attention, but not enough to slow them down. So I think we'll see them start building up, and we might even see them look to invade Taiwan in the next 3 months. I would imagine that they go sooner than later, just because of um, how off-footed NATO is right now, and how off-footed the Biden administration is. Obviously, the Biden administration would be the big worry for China. Um, they they like Biden though. I don't know if you remember, but when Biden was first president, all the Chinese university professors were like, "Well, we have a huge asset in the executive branch of the government of the United States now," and the Chinese intelligence quickly shut that up. They're like, "You don't talk about this. This is not something to joke about or talk about. We want to be silent on this topic." So it's been talked about less by the Chinese, but they all have that opinion. Like, what were the Americans like thinking putting Biden into office? He's clearly compromised by Ukraine, which obviously didn't do Ukraine that much good. But they're clearly China believes that he's compromised. Um, Sorry about that. That was my watch going off. Somebody texted me, but yeah. So I think China will be making a move here in the next 3 months. Keep the Chinese soldiers and the Chinese communist leaders in your prayers. Pray that God will soften their hearts, and pray for the Russian soldiers. Pray for the Ukrainian soldiers. Pray for the Ukrainian citizens. Citizens have been shot and killed. Um, and don't believe hardly anything you see online. There was a video of an airplane uh, rocketing a civilian house. That appears to be fake. It looks like some of the missiles were spliced in, and the loadout for the weapon was not realistic, or the loadout for the airplane was not realistic for that sort of actions, and it shouldn't have been flying that low. I was listening to a bunch of American pilots discuss like everything wrong with that video. It sounds like that video is fake. Obviously, the Ukrainians are just as interested in fake news and propaganda as the Russians are. So you can't really believe very much of anything you see. It does sound like the Snake Island soldiers were confirmed. It sounds like the Ghost of Kiev was disputed or disproven. So, but what we do know is that Russia's invaded. Ukraine is putting up an amazing fight, and the president of Ukraine is uh, giving photo ops to appear as if he's joining the fight. That isn't confirmed. But I imagine he's the type of person that would go in. The last thing he said to NATO was that next time you see me, I might be dead. So we'll see about him. It looks like a lot of his administrative staff are fighting as well. So, but I appreciate you listening to my video, and I hope you learned something. I hope you also feel it in your heart to pray for all the world, because we definitely need it. And honestly, if good American people and good Western people and good people all over the planet are praying for our enemies and our friends, it will create a culture in civilization that will promote peace and prosperity. And if you've ever wondered, like, what can I do to improve the world? What can I do to help these people in Ukraine? Say a prayer for them. Because saying a prayer does more than just petition God. It petitions your own heart, and then you in turn petition other people to be kinder because of your attitude, the way you approach life, the way you approach your neighbors. So pick up a Bible, read the scriptures, pray to God, pray for mercy for these people. That's the best thing that you can do as a patriot, as a citizen, and as a human being. Thank you for listening, and consider liking and subscribing.